Oh, sorry, I didn't realize it was time already. Give me a second. Where is it we're going exactly this time? Let me get one last look. Lovely stuff, I'll continue here later. Ooh, Rivet City, the non-canonical expansion to the universe of Roly-Poly-Oly, the land of communism and brass. Bit of a weird concoction for my 8-year-old self, but there you go.
Robots was the very second movie from the Blue Sky Studios, hot off the cusp of their surprise hit Ice Age, and give or take 3 years, here we are. Brimming with optimism of a newly established studio, this film certainly took some choices. Bit of a fun fever dream from my perspective. Actually, I remember watching this movie at my uncle's place where they had a pirated DVD instead, and you could legitimately see someone walking out of the cinema halfway through on the screen. I think I just thought that was part of the movie. Meta. Or metal, I should say. Regardless, let's break down one of the defining scenes of Robots with some excerpts of sketches along the way.
What kind of building is that? And how has it not been updated to 21st century yet? And what does this have to do with a fox? Oh, okay, I'm going.
So the scene we're talking about is when the town turns on Rodney for all the right reasons. It's the clicking point of this robo-society where they learn not all of their options are doom and gloom against their corporate overlords. So to give some context, here is Robot City, a bustling metropolis of hopes and mechanical dreams, and Rodney here hopes to be an inventor. Unfortunately, upon showing up on location, he comes to learn that...
Now that's funny!
The idealized way of life here has rusted over the years. And what's worse, the new CEO head of Weld Industries is a right Apple executive, choosing to create extremely expensive parts with a diminishing degree of quality and removing the right to repair. In other words, profiting off of intentional product obsolescence. For a movie from 2005, it sure hit the nail on the head. Guess the signs were always obvious, huh? Anyway, this movie from when I was 7 started the motions of what they argued would help. A little sprinkling of communism. Or at the very least, the community working together against the few yet mighty. So the scene actually has one of the smoothest transitions to it from a writing perspective, rolling out directly outside of this house to spot through the window. Feels natural, you know? And that prior scene helps set the status quo that's about to be flipped, as it's a new morning and Rodney is perturbed.
Mr. Bigweld's disappeared and you're just sitting here.
Being the newcomer to the city, he is more fresh-faced than the others about the problems of this city, not ready to sit down and accept it as the other inhabitants. And more so than that, these residents have even stronger opinions than just neutral, as pressing them a little leads more to the response of,
"Never try, never fail." Those are the words I live by.
However, though the camera hasn't exactly moved, the fact that they got the short guy to make this perspective is a little key into letting his opinion seem less convincing to the audience. Never trust the short guy, if not also for his overly confident smirking face. The film disagrees with him, as shown by the directorial choices of this moment. But moving on, Rodney doesn't back down,
Crank, the idol of millions is gone and no one seems to care.
laying it all out there for everyone to succinctly understand. Meanwhile, the camera is placed behind all of the other robots at the table, crushing Rodney a little on the frame to showcase how his opinion is the minority against the status quo here. It's a little fitting to peer pressure on a societal level, and yet he fights back against it. Fortune favors the bold and all that.
There should be an angry mob out there. What the?
Leading us into our real scene, with a direct eye line to it, as well as making it a light-hearted little joke as well. It's funny, this movie has a lot of political undertones, hence why I'm talking about society so much, but it balances out really well with some contrasting jokes that are so common. It's really quite special, this script. Anyway...
Wow, that was great, Psychic Friend.
There is an angry mob, but perhaps not quite for the reasons Rodney was hoping for.
Sorry, folks. All sold out.
In reality, it comes down to the shortage of spare parts and the inability to be repaired by the local mechanic. Camera moving in closer as a group forms around Jack Hammer, progressively crushing him more as the pressure builds, but he holds his own, and the camera looms above the people, giving him some space. This crowd isn't going aggressive just yet. Just by these observations, residents are hesitant to act on a large issue until it reaches down to affect them personally. This robot city is a textbook example of a society that is misled and ripe for exploitation. These character traits are an overlord's wet dream.
Nothing but upgrades from here on in.
Just think of all the profits! And of course, over the line, we get a very direct cause and effect of what's happening with Ratchet's new company motto plastered about.
Why be you when you can be new?
Fallout.
But I like myself just the way I am.
And though this is very much a politically dipped movie, this comment here really drives down the core point of the messaging. The more usual, digestible moral for kids to perceive. Don't change and warp into something you're not. Get duplicate spare parts rather than Ship of Theseusing yourself. Yeah, that sounds easy enough for kids to understand.
We can't afford upgrades. Let's get them.
And in case it wasn't clear enough by the exploding nose earlier, this residential district is emblematic of the working class, the poorer of civilization, unable to keep up with the cost of living in functional parts as it advances beyond their means, now aiming the camera at this guy in a single shot that feels more motivated and planned. Looks like a zoomed in shot of a protest because it's about to become one. Another perfect pitfall that the society execs dream of, choosing to attack the messenger of bad news, thinking it is the source of their problems. Jack Hammer being just as much of a victim as the rest of them.
Hey, what are you doing? Don't throw me!
And before all the kids choose to rise up in a similar fashion to the movie, there's always room for one more mecha gag. Robots come in all shapes and sizes here, some more conspicuous than others. But as the lower class is set to collapse, of course Golden Boy Rodney has rocked up for the gossip.
Hey, isn't that the guy that fixed Fender's neck?
And he's immediately recognized for his good deeds earlier in the movie. Being a repairman in this world is a glorious trait, especially now.
Yeah, that guy fixes bots.
And without even contributing yet, Rodney is put up on a pedestal, camera low so that we and everyone else are looking up at him. And the other friends are here too. Crank still not really looked up to, short little gremlin. And with that, everyone redirects, aggression avoided, and it's not Jack Hammer's problem anymore.
Only those with insurance. Oh, I forgot. Everybody, come on.
As Robin Williams does his Robin Williams thing, the camera keeps up high and wide and static, pulling back to see more of the scope of the mob that's come to Rodney for help, as well as diminishing Rodney's scale. He may be their savior in this moment, but the reality is Rodney still has a massive task unveiling in front of him, and the camera work reflects that.
Parts, man. I need parts.
You don't look that bad.
He was only missing screws and bolts really, not really parts. But it's another micro gag that this film has up its titanium sleeves. Yet on a less light-hearted note...
Hey, everybody. Spare parts!
To be fair, this kind of dark-ish humor is quite common for children's content. Who'd have thought mini psychopaths love to see psychopathic behavior? Is very funny. But with the more political lens this movie has, it's all the more emblematic of a lower class that cannibalizes itself to survive rather than tackling a real issue. Immoral grounds and misguided ones too, as our everyman Rodney is quick to point out.
Wait a minute! What's wrong with you robots?
Being new to town, he's a lot more adverse to the desperation as he's not been sinking in it long. Frog in boiling water and all that. And his shocked reaction is the biggest we've seen him on the frame yet, as he stands his ground for his stance on it all.
You should all be ashamed of yourselves.
Why do you have two noses?
But we gotta keep up the entertainment factor. This movie isn't serious. It's all in the between lines that you can extract all of this doom. Welcome to halfway through the video. If you want to see more, come subscribe. And check out the link tree in the description to see all of our other links.
Hey, could you look at my arm?
Nice grip.
Like iron.
And thus begins the more direct complaints as we see each individual problem. But it is just more robot jokes. It's really quite impressive. Camera sticking wide and static, and the character's unbalanced to the right hand of the frame. I guess so that we can see the crowd behind him, and that he's stepping forwards? Or perhaps the camera work was just going for function and not direct intention with every shot. Maybe it's stuff like this that separates a good Pixar movie and a good Blue Sky Studios movie.
I can't get rid of the spare tire.
Losing my mind!
Each in their own way, puns and gags, but simultaneously clear that these robots are so impoverished that they are literally falling apart, and the world around them is kicking them to the curb. But the fact remains, this is an overwhelming task to just suddenly drop on a single person.
Back off! Back off! He's got his own dreams that won't come true.
And in this world, even as his friends see it, it's a fend for yourself situation down in the doom and gloom. But that's what makes Rodney different. He's not from this city. He's been brought up in the presence of Bigwell's idealistic TV program, and that has shaped him into the person he is.
Cyanide Philanide.
And so, Rodney steps up to the task, motivated by his past to help those around him, once again at a low angle for the first time in a while now.
Wait! Who wants to get fixed?
They really have a joke for every dialogue line, don't they? I hope these comedy writers are doing well these days. For one final time, we get the wide and high shot to showcase the crowd as they leave, followed by Rodney in his best state, confident, central, and emboldened as he whips out his worker spanners. Yet also still youthful and wholesome, what with his facial expressions. He's the man of the people, a leader rather than a boss. Cue the montage.
But it's okay. Making the baby's the fun part.
God damn it, wife! I knew we should have gotten our next generation from Robo IKEA. I mean, I can understand building shelves, I can make some really great Lego sets, but bloody bioengineering anatomy makes no goddamn sense. I pick celibacy, thanks. God.
It's gag
Understand, a break like this is hard to find, kid.
after gag
Could've done what you should've done.
after gag. Looking like a cinematic adaptation of 2 Point Hospital with light-hearted characters and denim jeans. But it's clearly our story on the rise, as Rodney does in fact help out all of these quirky characters. Don't know exactly where he got the parts and screws to do so, but we'll go with it. And what better way to emblematically show a functional display of progress than to finish off with the very first problem we audience have come to see. As Spare Parts over here is fully rebuilt, with shots of each of the gang helping out, as it's not about Rodney being the chosen one, just that someone is willing to help the group as a whole at all. It's about working together. There's also a nice shot of the parents hearing about Rodney's progression along the way, also displaying this is happening over more than just a day. You know, Rodney can make a lot of profit off of this, but clearly that isn't the point. And finally, as everyone comes together, Rodney adds the final recognizable bumper over the camera as we see Mr. Parts awaken, and viewing up on the collective that made it happen. It's all about coming together as a team. Looking out for each other. Camaraderie. Also, I should add, with all of these other solution shots, the camera is mostly playing off of the concept and gag. It's static for something audible, like a voice box problem, it tracks for the long-range arm handshake on this guy, and it is tactically positioned to open up for a reveal with the operation joke. The comedy comes first in the cinematography, and for this montage, it works well. And on that note, the street comes together in solidarity. A stronger community of a collection rather than a clump of individuals from the start. It's Rodney's positive impact and legacy on this city. And you can see it on his face. And our final shot has us wide and high one final time, pulling back not to shrink Rodney, but to increase the volume of grateful and friendly companions. A happy turn of events that will soon become vital to the overall plot. And from there, we fade away and onto our villain. This scene and this whole movie, to be honest, doesn't go ham on the cinematic symbolism, because it's prioritizing comedy for the most part. From a writing perspective, it really is interesting diving back into this movie as an adult and peeling more in between the lines. Who'd have thought the right to repair element would be so much more relevant 18 years later? But still, this is the part of the movie that, for me, changes robots. Starting the rumblings of the socialist themings of the movie, but also giving Rodney a new outlook on life. It's a response to problematic political ways people were perceiving in 2005. And it's got a lot of robo-gags too. Just a solid turning point of a scene in general. And God, isn't it beautiful in design? I really love this, what is it, rust punk aesthetic? Whatever the case, a solid second movie from Blue Sky Studios, and very daring too. Now, time to come back to 2023 with our corporate overlords again. My name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.
Uh-oh, we're in the endgame now. Endgame? Well, you're certainly right about that. See, we've got Avengers Endgame right at home here. Huh. So Avengers was an allegory for socialism this whole time.